ETM Hotep, Hotep, Hotep. Hopefully I can be heard. And I'm coming out loud and clear. And as usual, I always, ask anyone in the chat to make sure that I could be heard. In the meantime, again, ETM Hotep, welcome to the Seshu Ma'ani Metal Netcher YouTube channel. And this is the brother Wu Jiao, as you can see, big as day on the screen. So let me just see who has tuned in, if anybody's tuned in yet. Oh, yes. All right. So let me give a couple of shout outs and welcomes and greetings to, we got Robert Rand, Hotep, MC Chill. I know he's cooking up something special, so I'm gonna wait for that. Brother Donnie, Hotep, Vyasa, Hotep, Omar Reed, everything is everything. I meant to ask you about that spider. I think I did ask you about that spider. You didn't post it this time. That's for everything is everything. And the chat just jumped up. Chavis, Hotep. Chavis is in the building. Chavis been holding it down. Light Body, Hotep. Niwa Sarah, Hotep. We have Tiarka, Hotep. And I missed anybody? Hassan, bless, peace, Hotep, Hotep. And anybody else? Nope. All right, so I'm just shouting out those who have I can see in the chat, and whoever else is watching. Upthinking and Destiny. All right, Hotep. First time seeing that name. Hotep, Hotep, peace. All right, so well, I'm running my big mouth. I introduced myself, so let me take a back seat and pass the mic to my co-panelist and allow her to introduce herself.
Hotep, Hotepu, Abet, Ren, Imiket. My name is Imiket, and yeah, I'd just like to welcome you all.
Okay, I think I need to take lessons and just do brief intros and brief exits. That's what everybody's telling me. I'm very long-winded on my exits. They say I whenever I say I'm about to leave, just tack on a whole nother hour. Oh boy, that's funny, but it's kind of true. All right, so tonight's live, and if you didn't know already, we kind of go live out the clear blue, as you can see. We will go live. That's why I say you have to subscribe. You have to not only subscribe, but make sure you click the bell on the channel and then click all, like all notifications, not just some, click all, because we would just pop up and do drive-by sessions, and we advocate and we do our best to create an educational environment, being under the umbrella of Seba University. And for those who may not know, the word Seba or Seba is an ancient Egyptian word that means to teach, to instruct, or teachings or instructions, or teacher, or even students, disciple, those who are disciplined, etc., etc. The word Seba. And Seba University is an environment for teaching, for learning, for discipline, to be disciplined or to discipline, etc., etc. So the name is fitting, and everything we do on this channel and even on Facebook and elsewhere, we do it in the spirit of an educational environment. We want people to learn something, or we ourselves learn. We learn from each other. All right. And we try to have fun doing it at the same time, but we're careful not to get caught up into the goofy, the drama, the all those different things that will hinder learning, and hinder progress. Because a lot of things that go on that we see now, we've gotten used to it. We think it's normal, but it's really not. And so I try to be the voice of reasoning and set and kind of shake people up a little bit. Say, hey, nah, this is not normal. This shouldn't be the way we should have these discussions. all the hollering and fussing and just craziness that I see. Pseudo is at an all-time high. Pseudoism. All right, so I done said all of that good stuff. So the title of tonight's live is actually the birth of time. It's a question. The birth of time. We've been kind of touching on a topic that got kind of heated between others, and me myself, I chimed in on it late. I came late to the party, just to chime in on it a little bit, to figure out what was going on, see if I could kind of help straighten some things out a bit. And so
Yeah, not to interrupt, but I didn't want to type, some answers that to the question that Newser was asking, because it might benefit others as well. So he was asking about the folded, the three skins that we usually, the glyph that we usually translate as mess, which is a biliteral MS. And that usually is MS and is three skins, and is Gardner code F31. And it translates, for the most part we use it to translate. It has different translations, but the ones that we usually see a lot is mess as in give birth, or mess as in offspring, or a descendant, yeah, offspring basically. But then he was asking, in the instance that you see it with a folded cloth, so in that instance, the folded cloth will mostly be acting as a phonetic complement, and that usually helps us spell out some of the consonants on those on the biliteral, or the multiliterals, because that's where we get the phonetic complements. So the S, or the folded cloth, in this instance will help us spell out the S in mess, in MS. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
all right, and also keep in mind for we try to be consistent in a format, and it's a little trial and error with what we do, but we want to get settled in on a consistent format. So if we share information, we want to do that first, and then we'll take questions, and even open the panel. We always open the panel up and want participation. Okay, so if you have any questions, definitely we're going to open it up, and that way we could pay more attention to the chat as well. All right, because sometimes people ask questions ahead of time. It may not even be. It may take us in a different direction than what we want to talk about. At least with the what we want to present. All right. So tonight's drive by out of the blue show is a question: the birth of time. So I put a question mark there because I want you all to just think about this. So we're going to share an Egyptian text that's full of vignette. It's full of imagery. Okay, and then we're going to walk through and go through a little bit of transliteration and translation with it, and then have a brief discussion about it. All right, and open the panel up if any of you all want to ask questions or offer any more information or corrections. Corrections are welcome. All right, so again, peace to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to jump in. Make sure you like the video. If you enjoy our shows and everything like that, definitely like it. And if you don't like our shows, like the video anyway. All right, so we're going to dive straight in. So, and let me know if you all can see this clearly. And there we have it. So while I begin to speak about this in the chat, if you can let me know that you can see this nice and clear and big. But let me zoom out on this image. I'm going to zoom out, and I believe that is out as far as I need to go. Okay. So let me just give you a bit of information backdrop on this image that I'm showing. This is from the tomb of Ramses VI. All right. And you can look up Ramses VI to see what time period, what dynasty he would fit in. But this is from the tomb, and it's a very elaborate tomb. If you were to look up this tomb, I believe it's KV 9. Somebody can correct me. I'm not quite sure. I'm going off the top of my head. But if you were to look up this tomb and look up all of the images, you would definitely, or you should be, in awe and blown away. But this is one particular wall in the tomb. And if you look at the ceiling, and I know you all probably can't see my cursor, and I don't have the access to turn on my pointer, but the ceiling is a night, starry night sky. You see the deity that most people should be familiar with, Newt. You see parts, a very small portion of her as a deity, as the sky, and you see the stars within her body at the very, very top. Is cut off here, but this is definitely talking about the sky, the stars, the solar systems, and what you see when you look up. Okay, so I'm just gonna lay that out there first. All right, so everything that you see in this scene is related to that. All right, and there are a lot of glyphs here, and there are a lot of different scenes that are divided and sectioned off, and so on and so forth. But in summary, this scene is referred to by scholars as the Book of the Earth. Okay, the Book of the Earth. If you want to do some more research on that, just look up the Egyptian Book of the Earth. The word that you also may find it under the Book of Aker, Aker. All right, and this book is one of many underworld texts. And if any of you are already familiar with me, or the Sesh, or the Seshu Mani Medew Netcher, or our Facebook group, you will know that for years and years I constantly advocate and recommend and suggest people who study Egypt to become familiar with all of the underworld texts. And to mention a couple of others, you have the Book of the Earth, which is this one, which what we see on the screen is a portion. You have the Book of Caverns, the Book of the Heavenly Cow. You also have probably the most famous one, which is the Amduat. People refer to in short the Duat, but Amduat, the book called Amduat, which is that which is in the Duat, Am or Emi Duat. All right, within the Duat, and it's these books, underworld texts, that is indirectly known about whenever you see people argue about the 4 races that the Egyptians believed in, or shown on different tombs. Where you see the 4 races, they say, white, black, Asian, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you've heard about it. And that will be in the Book of Gates, which is another underworld text. Yeah, the Book of Gates, the Book of Caverns, the Book of the Earth, and so on and so forth. So that's just to name a few. And I recommend everyone who studies and interested in this to definitely become familiar with it. But first, you have to learn the language. All right, you have to learn the language. That is a must around here. All right, or not to be an expert, but you have to learn the language. Okay, so anyway, to get to it, so the portion of this that I want to focus on is something that a brother Asari Motep brought up in his previous presentation. And if you've been following the conversation, you're gonna have to jump from YouTube channel to YouTube channel. So Asar did a discussion about African cosmology in relation to the Big Bang on the pseudo killers, and that came off of another discussion or a couple of discussions before it. I kind of chimed in on that and had a show. We had a show reading the creation, the world before creation and the creation of the world. That was our previous show. Definitely check that out. You want to definitely check that out, because scholars have explicitly said that the ancient Egyptians had a version of a Big Bang Theory, referred to as the Egyptian Big Bang Theory, and identified with familiar deities such as Nu, and then the Ogdoad and the Pasejet with Atum, Shu Tefnut, and so on and so forth. So anyway, in Asar's last video, he focused on this area here. So I'm going to zoom in and hopefully see if I can slide this over here. Zoom in some more, and I believe you all can see everything in the image right here. So this area right here with this deity in the middle, hopefully you all can see that good. This is what was focused on. But as the Seshu, we see these images. What most people see as just pretty art and images, we see the images, but we see the images as complement to the text. We see the glyphs. We see writing. We see writing that has meaning and is telling us something. So this is what we're going to dive into a bit, just this section here. All right, so take a good look at it, and I'm going to pass the mic over to Emiket, and she's going to kick us off on getting some basic understanding of what it is that we're looking at, and then we'll probably volley back and forth. All right, so I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to keep this up for a second if you want to talk about the image itself and everything.
Okay. So with what we see in the images, we see obviously we see the glyphs, and then we see 3 mummies on each side of the inscription, and then we see a figure standing in the middle. And so we probably just have to divide it into left and right side, split it in the middle with both sides of the glyph. And I don't know if you want to slow it down to actually, just going through the steps of how we would go about reading the glyphs and whatnot. What do you think? Okay, so we don't. Okay, so let's not do that. Let's just get. It's late. So yeah. So because it's a little bit smaller, I'm gonna. I think I should share the one that I have, because that will help us a bit. So we'll, like I said, we'll divide it with the left side and the right side, and if we share what I have, so
So real quick, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a screenshot of this scene, because I just realized that in order for you all to follow along and to have a better understanding, I can't point an arrow to what we're discussing. So I'm going to take a screenshot, and then I'll be able to use my arrow. So while I do that real quick, if you had anything else to kind of give some context to this while I do that.
yeah, wow, yeah, yep, and yeah. So hopefully you can hear me now. Yeah. So actually, yeah. So the interesting thing about what I see and what I was while looking at this glyphs was there was a lot of repetition. You have a lot of snakes. I like how there's different variations of the snake, and there's repetitions of what is written on the text, and just wanted to actually get to it and see what it was talking about. Also, you see on both the left and the right, other than the 3 mummies standing up, there's also 2 figures kneeling down, I think, with their arms raised. And I wouldn't say so much about the middle part. I think Assad did a good job, having that drawing that he had, or the illustration that he had last week on that. Now, but I see, if everybody noticed, there's a lot of saber or stars in the middle, that's interesting too. And trying to see if there's anything else that is interesting before we get into the glyphs. Oh yeah, and then there's the obviously something that I shouldn't be missing is the big snake that actually covers or encircles the the three mummies on both sides. And yeah, so I think you see that on the left and the right side. That's actually very interesting. Now, yeah, so I think we should just get into the glyphs really, and then try to see what it's saying. So on the left side, hopefully this is a little bit more clear than the what we were seeing before. So this is what we had on the left side. Can you see my cursor? Okay. So on the left side, we see on the top the words are Netcher and then pen, and then you have M, and then Seker, and then pen, and this is the twisted flags with the horned viper, and so that's hef, and then you have this for the bilateral ow, so hefau with the determinative, and then aa. So this will be hefau aa, and then mehen, and this is what you see on the top here, and it's actually the same that is written in these sections as well. So it's pretty much a repetition with slight variations with the different snakes. So it will be Netcher, pen, M, Seker, pen, and then Hefau, and then Mehen. And it will be the same here as well. And then where you had in the other picture where there was a figure that was kneeling down with their arms raised, that's the place where you have these glyphs, Netcher, pen, and then M, Seker, and then pen, and then Hefen, and F, and then Emu, F. Now, Netcher, pen, M, Seker, pen, Hefau, A, Mehen. So this is this god. Netcher, pen, pen is a demonstrative. We're talking about the Netcher. So it will be this god or this Netcher as this form or as this design. And then it says the great serpent, Mehen. So, and that's what it's actually saying pretty much on these glyphs. And then here there's a slight variation where he's talking about this god in that particular form. And then you see Hefen NF, which is a past tense of slithering. So he slithered across. And then Emuf, which will be those who are among him or those who are within him. So, and this is very interesting because, so look, I don't know if anybody knows about or kind of has heard about the the deity Mehen. So Mehen is actually a protective deity and is a deity that protects Ra. So while Ra is traveling on his back in the night to in the Duat, and he protects him from his enemy, and in this case we're talking about a pet. So so that's what is known as, and for the most part, the name actually is it talks about because Mehen protects Ra by actually encircling Ra, and also he's also known to encircle and tighten, or choke the enemies in that sense. And actually, when you read in the next, let me see if we have it on next slide. Yes, in this next slide where they're talking about Mehen itself, you will see where you're talking about, when he's praising those who are within him, maybe that could be of those that are within him in that sense. But we'll, that's, something that we can look into. But yeah, so with that, if you're looking at the right side, if you remember what you saw on the inscription itself, on the right side, you also had three mummies standing upright, and then you had this particular glyphs. So it's pretty much saying the same thing, just with slight variations or adding some little information in there. So you still have the Netcher, Pen, M Seker, Mehen, and then you have Her F. So here you have a slight variation where he's talking about this particular god in the form of of Mehen, and then it will be above him or about it in this instance. And then it will be in the second column is talking about the same thing again, but here is actually saying in the form of the great serpent Mehen, and then above him. And then on the third part is talking about, yeah, pretty much the same hymn, but in here is giving more, is giving praises. So it will be, you know, Netcher, Pen, and then it will be M Seker, and then you will have Chef here, and then Hekenu, F, and then Imiu F. So this is where it's talking about this god in that particular form. And then it says Chef Hekenu. This is when he praises, the word Hekenu is for praise. When he praises, and then Hekenu F. And then Imiu F, the ones who are among or within him. And then on the other inscription that was on the right side, you have Netcher Pen, M Seker, Pen, Mehen, Heref. And that will be the same as what we had here. This is talking about this god, Netcher Pen, and then in the form of Mehen, which is M Seker, Pen, Mehen, and then above him, in this form as Mehen, and above him. And in that particular inscription on the right side too, on each on above each statue or each mummy, you would see the different some other inscriptions written there, and that was where you see Keper Her, which we've had that before. If you've been listening to some of our Divine Ones Wednesdays, that's young of face. So, and then because Keper is like one that transforms or always, creating, so it stays young. So Keper Her, and then Wa Her, which will be distant or face or long. Some people could translate that as long, but that's long or face. So it's showing the different forms in this particular instance. And then Iau Her, which would be old or face. And then there was a particular point, I think it was on the left side, where it had the this particular three glyphs, where you have three owls and then the land, and that translates as Mem Ta. Actually, should be Ta. So who is earth, and that translates it translates as who is earthbound. And those were the glyphs. So with that said, maybe we should look at it again with if you, and then put everything that I've said into context while looking at the on the real glyphs in this instance.
All right, excellent. So now I have the picture up again with my trusty arrow. You all know the arrow is my best friend on here. So to kind of just review what was just said, now that we have the image up as well. So, okay, first of all, now I'm zoomed in. You all saw the whole wall. It's a lot going on that wall, but we're zoomed in on this one part. This part that we're focused on is not the beginning or the end of the text. So there's some context to all of this as well. And obviously, we're definitely skipping a lot of context because it would take us way too long, several shows, to really walk through this whole text. Because there's a lot of information in this text, and is written in a figurative way. And so if you're not familiar with figurative expressions and figurative writing, an example of figurative expression would be the various different literary devices, such as similes, tropes, metaphors, hyperboles, etc., symbols. And we know that symbols stand in for some reality. And so when you have texts that are written heavily in figurative expressions, there's they're standing in for some realities. And if you're not a member of the culture and the society and the social environment of that time, it's very, very easy to misinterpret and really not know what is actually meant behind the figurative expressions. So, for example, I always give the famous, probably the most famous metaphor is people will say, I have butterflies in my stomach. Now we understand that today because we grew up in America. We hear people say it. We know the reality behind it and what is actually meant. And we also know that it is actually a metaphor. We know it's not literally. We know that butterflies are not literally in anyone's stomach. We know that it's or we should know it's a metaphor for nervousness. Okay. So nervousness is the reality, but butterflies is the metaphor or stand in for that reality. And we know this. But now, if we come from a foreign culture and even a different era of time, and we were to read that, then it would be a mistake for us to read it and take it literally. Because if we did, then we'll think that, hey, whoever say that is nuts, bananas. They actually thought they had butterflies in their stomach. I don't believe that. These some spooky people. Those 2020 Americans, they were spooky. you know and so and I'm saying that because that's how people misrepresent Egyptian text and a lot of indigenous texts around the continent of Africa, India, around the world. We come to these different texts with bias and just ignorance, really. Ignorant bias, because we come and we read it, or we'll read a translation of it, whatever, and we'll think it's literal and think that these Egyptians really thought that snakes did this, snakes did that. Like somebody read the Bible and think the snake in the Genesis story could really talk, that the people who wrote it really thought that snakes could talk, and so on, not seeing that figurative expressions was the pedagogical method of transmitting information for a very long time, all throughout human history. Okay, it's just that now we dance with it. It's not a requirement for our survival. Whereas the further back in time you go, figurative expressions was a matter of survival, because to transmit information, the body of knowledge of a community from one generation to the next, they didn't have writing. So they had to tell elaborate stories as mnemonic devices for remembrance, to remember. And so they had to encode it, and then you had to have the ability to decode to figure out the reality. So I say all of that to say is that what we're looking at, we certainly could not spend an hour explaining this entire text. There's no way possible, because there's so much information you have to know prior to even getting to this point. But we're focusing on this one section to highlight a couple of things. So the deity Mehen, the snake that Emicat was mentioning, as you see here, I'm just tracing with the arrow. So notice that this is the head of the snake, and then the body is coiled or wavy, but it dips down below the horizon. See this flat surface here? It goes hidden. So it goes below here that we can no longer see. And then it comes back up over here on this side, still wavy, and then it's continue on, and then you see its tail on this side. This is the tail. Okay, so the midsection of the length of the snake, Mehen, is hidden, and it's in a shape of an open V. Like if you were to continue the line of the snake, it would end up at a point down here in a V type shape. But we can't see that. So there's an aspect of this that is hidden, that is obscure. All right. Now, as I said, this text is called the Book of the Earth, or Book of Aker, This text is this particular image is from the tomb. Excuse me, the tomb of Ramses the Sixth. But this same text is in several tombs. Ramses the Ninth, tomb of Tawasaret, and a few others. I'm just going off the top of my head. It's in quite a few other tombs. They have the same text. Vignettes are very similar. Some of them are identical. Some of them have additions. Some of them have omitted things and are heavily abbreviated. But this area here is referred to in other texts, not in this one. We don't see the glyphs for it in this one, but this area is called Pa Ni Shatau, which means the mysterious place. All right, this entire opening section is the mysterious place. The word Shatau means some people translate it as secret. Some other people translate it as obscure. It's something that is unknown, mysterious, discreet, those type of synonyms. And what I want to point out here as well is, and maybe Imicat, while I point it out, you can pull it up to add it to your slide, is the word wasek. And it is a glyph that looks like a open bucket. But I want everyone to notice this shape here that I'm tracing. Not the snake itself. The snake is in the same shape. But look at the shape of this line here, coming down here, going across, and then coming back up. And then going across the top here. That shape is an actual glyph. Wasek, and hopefully we can get it pulled up so we can see the actual word, but I'm gonna continue. And that word wasek, it means an opening. What else? It means something that is open, something that is wide, and it means available space. So you're actually looking at the glyph for space, for some kind of void space, to make way, an empty container. All right, that's what you're looking at. So that's interesting. And what else do we see? And also, she already said that Mehen is a deity of snake, is known as the protector, and it has this snake has a twofold meaning all throughout Egyptian text. It's a protector, but it's also it actually imprisons or traps the enemies. Okay, it keeps enemies out, and it traps enemies within. All right, it has a twofold function and purpose. Mainly, you'll know that Mehen protects Ra, as Imiket said, when Ra journeys in places where Ra is vulnerable, and Mehen will protect Ra. So to protect this fiery process that Ra represents. Okay, so I'm just pointing out, some more things here. Also, I want you to notice that let's count these deities here that are at an angle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 on the left and there's 6 on the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These 6 figures here have their arm extended and in an open position with the sun disk in the middle. So there's 6 sun disks here on the left and 6 on the right, with a total of 12. Also, what you see is 2 larger discs here, which is the word kerti or kerti. All right, 2 circles. Then you have stars. And we count the stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 stars, 2 circles, 12 figures with discs within their arms. And I'm pointing these things out. And mind you, we're just touching the surface of this because, like I said, there's a lot of information that you would have to be familiar with prior to, trying to really, really dig in on this text. But just on the surface, you'll notice certain themes and certain um, imagery that's pointing to something. And mind you, remember I said this entire tomb or this section, we saw the ceiling where it's talking about what you see in the sky. And a lot of this has to do with the Egyptians' explanation of how things come to be and how things come to be in totality within the as far as the universe is the same thing that happens in daily life and the span of life from birth to maturity to old age to death. Everything had a pattern, a very similar pattern. And it was very consistent in the Egyptian explanations and in the text. And so this is no different. All right. So I don't know if you have it. You have it.
Two. Yeah, so that is the word Wesek, and I think this is what you were talking about. And yeah, so and that's the word for breadth, like something that is wide, talking about, yeah, wide, the width, and all of that. Now, while you were talking and explaining those figures, I thought it was interesting because one of the things that that when you look into Mehen, or this particular snake, the protective snake, is that there is some confidential information. We don't, I don't want to use the word mystery because people kind of tend to take it too far with that word, but there is some confidential or information private to initiates or whatnot. So it's not like Shatau Mehen. So the mysteries or the confidential information of Mehen. And so I thought that was interesting. I remember that while you were describing that particular place that goes below that we don't know. And actually you become triumphant over Mehen when you can actually you go through the roads of Mehen, which is Wawet Mehen, and you're able to unlock this particular Shitau Mehen. And another thing actually that I thought about is when you're talking about the 9 stars. Was it the 9 stars? Yes, it reminded me of another part that I've read about Mehen. It might not be related in that sense, but I'm just giving all this information for those who haven't looked into Mehen. There is a lot, but some of them that come to mind is that protective snake was actually used by Isis to protect, or Aset to protect Heru, and what on his back while he crosses the sky. And in I think in that scenery, I forget what scenery it was from, but there is the 9 gods or the 9 deities that we call the Pesejit that encircle Mehen, and in that instance they are referred to as Imiyu. Mehen. Imiyu is another word that you saw when I was let me show you this particular word. Emu is like is showing like a special information about being within or among. So these are the 9 gods that are in or within Mehen. So in that particular instances, the Inyad or the Pesejit are referred to as Emu Mehen. So yeah, those are just some tidbits of information here and there.
Okay. All right. You stop. Okay. So, all right. So back to the image that we're looking at. Get my cursor back over here. Okay, so more things I want to point out. Now, mind you, so I asked the question, the birth of time. So now you see why or you should start to see why I'm asking this question. So we see 6 figures and 6 figures, 12 times 2. We have 2 circles here, 24. And so this deity, and you can't miss this deity right smack dab in the middle. This is what they call an ithyphallic deity, which is a deity, ithyphallic, a person who has an erect phallus. All right. Now, on online and in previous conversations that I've seen over the years, I've seen Hebrew Israelites and others will go to town on imagery like this. They would say, the Egyptians are gay, or if not gay, they are pornographic. Why would I teach my child? Why would I show this to my child? And so on and so forth. Those kind of thoughts and comments are completely devoid of any understanding of culture and how culture works, in a society at any given time. Because we can say that about any culture at any point in time, even here in the United States, just in our lifetime, our lifetime. Just a quick example. Today now it's 2022, we see a lot of different choices people make in their lifestyle, sexual orientations, and the likes. It starts to be coming in the foreground now, whereas before, when I was younger, LGBTQ and that entire community was always in the closet. Like you weren't really allowed to come out of the closet, or you were ridiculed, or whatever the case is. So things change over time. And that goes for any society, any culture, and whatnot. And then when you jump from millennia and then totally different cultures, I mean, you can't pass judgments and things like that. So that's very immature and shallow for people to look at this and then just start running their mouth. So this is an ithyphallic deity. And this deity is identified with he who gives birth to the hours. Watet when wet. All right. So he's giving birth to time, the hours. And it's coming from a mysterious place, but at the same time being protected by Mehen, this process. So the erected phallus, you see these, I'm not sure if you can pick it up on the screen. I took a screenshot, and you may not be able to pick this up on the screen, but you see these dotted lines that are coming from the deity outwards towards each of these 6 and 6 figures, 6 on the left, 6 on the right. And they're also attached to the stars. So they're attached to the disc in each of the hands, and they're attached to these stars, etc. So what this represents is, and I believe Imiket had it on the screen before, this represents what the Egyptians did was they represented the erected phallus ejaculating, but instead of semen, it's ejaculating fire. Now, how do we know that? Well, look here. Simply as you see, this glyph here is a glyph of a child, and it's determined by a glyph of a flame. And so this figure here is giving birth, mess, and it's interesting that Niwa Surah asked about the word mes or meset, which means to give birth, that which is born, to give birth to flames. So the semen, or what would be semen, is actually fire coming out of this deity, but in a reproductive way, a generative way, to give birth to something, to create. And remember, the Egyptians and a lot of indigenous people around the world, they saw creation as a process of birth. All right. And so you see this here, that this deity is giving birth to each one of these things. And so hence this is why I named the show for tonight, The Birth of Time, with a question mark. And so you actually literally see this here. And so this Wasek area, which is this broad open space, happens to be the same shape that modern physicists and astrophysicists and quantum physicists and so on and so forth, when they want to visually describe the birth of stars and galaxies and everything that makes those things up, they draw it and put it in imagery the exact same way, in the same shape. It's open V shape. And I don't have that picture right this second. I'm gonna get it. I'll get it in a second, so you'll see what I'm talking about. For those who may not be familiar with that, the way that modern physicists, um, put it into imagery. Well, this is the exact same thing going on here. And so they're saying time is being given birth to here, these stars and so on and so forth. Um, um, Here, and what else can we say about this?
Um, well, it's interesting that you say that. So you have the child or mess or keret. It will be, and then you have the flame, which is Sajet, and then right below it is not clear. I don't have that particular glyph for the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 glyphs down there, but that is Senefi. So it's the door bolt, the water ripple, the horned viper, and then you have the double reed leaf, and then you have this sign. It looks like a carved arrow, but it's like spit. Usually, I think it's spit. That's what it is in the Gardner code, in the sign in the glyph list. So that would be Senefi, which it could be actually to breathe, to make something to breathe, or it could actually be most of the time you find it translated as the bloody one. So yeah, so that's actually interesting when you're talking about the stars, and then you have the flames, and giving back to the flames, and then the bloody one or the fiery one. It may perhaps that could also be around the same semantic range.
Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. So, let me see. I'm just trying to think what else, because you already went over a lot of this text that's here in front of these mummified figures here on the left and the right. They're repetitive, you know, and you see these two figures here flanking the deity in the center, giving praise, praising the one in the middle, or this entire process. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to think of what else. Go ahead.
Now I was saying, yeah, that's the one with Hekenu F, with giving praise the to the ones within it or above it, and that's what we read in the glyphs.
Okay. And I'm just trying to point out anything else. And without going too far, into this, I just wanna kind of pique you all's curiosity, at the very least, on these associations. So the Egyptians are not, um, drunk off of lotus plants and just sitting down here, drawing all this stuff haphazardly and randomly. This is a very, very, very well thought out text in its totality. It's very, very complex and intricate, but you have to is there's so much that you have to know prior to sitting down here and trying to make sense of it. And so tonight I'm just pointing out a few things just to kind of um, put something on your mind about what's going on, at least within this scene. And if I were to draw back, let me switch back over. Give me a second. I'm gonna switch back over to the actual picture that I got that from. Let me see if I can share that again. We'll get back to the big picture here. Okay, so now I have on the screen the big picture again. Now I lost my arrow, so you just got to bear with me. So this is the big picture. So I'm just gonna kind of scan through some more of it. And now notice that the text here that Emicat went through on the left and right of the central figure, it's a lot of repetition. And then above these three figures on the right, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, the figures on the right, she read the names of them, you know, distant of face, young of face, old of face, you know. These are all attributes. If you think about it, young, old, young and old, that's time. Um, Distance, that's time and distance. What is that? When you say distance, when I say wasek, space, and now we have hours, what is that? That's space and time. Space, time, time, space, space, time. All right, and 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 it's expanding out. All right, just want to point a couple of those things out, and then over.
But I was just saying that yes, and the text does tell us that these are this particular nature pen in the form of or in the design of, and then so then like you said, the different attributes and all of that. So yeah.
Okay, and then to the left of what we were focused on is more text. It's a continuation, and it goes on to say that this is not seen, and you have the deity Ra here at the bottom, um, and so on. Like I said, I don't know if you could see my cursor to even. Can you see my cursor? Okay, it's probably hard to see. It's just look like a little. See, I can't see my own cursor. It's like a little small little crosshairs. Okay, but this goes into what's not seen, and and more into what's going on. It's like giving you more of what you're seeing in the central um, figure and what's going on here. But let me just zoom out a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Okay, now you see over here, you see this deity whose body is obscure. Another deity standing on the shoulders or head. Look like it's the head, but it's standing on the shoulders. Now this is literally standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. So when people say that online, just show them this picture. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make that a T-shirt. Y'all heard it first right here. Literally standing on the shoulders of a priori, because notice that the bigger figure is prior to the smaller figure standing on the shoulders, which is in the same position, which yields the disc. And then you have Iabet, and you have Amenetet, which is east and west. All right, over here. You have Kepler as these figures over here. But like I said, I don't want to get too far into all this, but these are all speaking about processes taking place, and it's real interesting when you get into it. And that's why I'm listening to these conversations and people who don't study this stuff, not known to study this stuff, and won't take the time out to study this stuff, and also on top of those three things come to the table with biases and assumptions and so on and so forth. They will look at this and just be very dismissive, like, oh, the Egyptians were spooky, they just crazy, they doing this and that. But no, those of us who study, I mean, this is a wealth of information and imagery and so on and so forth. um Notice, look at these four circles over here and the deity in the middle here. What else? um Look at this image here in the middle. What does that say? What does that spell? Anybody tell me? Right here in the middle. I don't know if y'all can see my cursor. Right there in the middle. All right, this is the word Aker. This is where people get the name of this whole book, the book of Aker. All right, and it's two sphinx in two opposite directions, like the horizon, pointing east and pointing west. All right. Even this right here is a mimic of the horizon. Now, mind you, when you see the horizon, now I pointed out the wasek glyph, which means space, to broaden out or wedge out an area that we call space. That's what this is. But if you look at the whole thing, it's in the shape of the horizon. And usually, when you see the horizon glyph, which are two hills, what's in the middle of it? Emicat, tell everybody what's in the middle of the two hills glyph, right there in the middle.
The sun.
A circle with the sun, right? Which is a star, right? Now look at this. It's not the disk of the sun in the middle, but this is the fiery one giving birth to disks and stars right here in the middle. So you see a consistent set of imagery, layer upon layer upon layer, um, in this text and many other texts.
Go back to the middle with Aker again. Okay, that's interesting because I think on the right, from what I see, it's very tiny, but it says Peret Aker. So that's the emergence of Aker that must be on the east side. That's on the left. It's very tiny though, but yeah, that's actually interesting. I can't see what's on the right, but on the left is looks like Peret M, and then could be Aker, the name.
Mm-hmm. That's the east. The east is always on the left. Remember, the word for east is also the word for the left hand. Iabet is the word for the left hand, the left side of the body, and it's the word for the east, for east. So
Very
it's
interesting.
it's the place of birth. It's the place of to appear, the place of appearance, and so on. Let's see what else can we get out of here. Let me zoom back out a bit.
While you zooming back out, I like how you're presenting this because it's not so much telling people what things are, but just showing those. And even me looking at it, it's interesting because you know the context of it. Because there's a lot of glyphs that we definitely need to find time to go through. But it's interesting, you know, the context of which we are working with, where we have time, where you know it shows us the hours, and then it's showing us you know the directions like east and west and all that, so we know that these are not just random stuff. These are well thought out things and documented stuff about the space time, like just what is around us, what goes on around in our space time.
Okay, this is the last thing I want to point out. I want you to take note of the acre up here, the two sphinx facing opposite directions, but below it, you see a sun disk. And look at this mummified body here. But look at these circles: one, two, three, four, five, six on the left, and one, two, three, four, five, six on the right again. And in between each circle is a star. One, two, three, four, five, six. One, two, three, four, five, six. So you have 6 or 12 circles and 12 stars again in this arc type of shape here, again with the bigger sun disk in the middle. And like I said, it would take too long to read all of these glyphs and explain everything, and I don't want to do that without people appreciating a lot of the information that you would have to know in order to appreciate this text. Because the problem that I see is that people who don't take the time out to learn um, any of the prerequisites, they don't appreciate this, and they it's dismissed, and but which is fine to me, which is fine. But if you're not a student of this information, if you're not willing to put in the work, then you really don't have anything to fuss and argue about. It's all right to sit and learn and maybe chime in on a conversation, I've seen people who will try to argue you up and down about things that they're completely clueless about and clueless on. And so again, count these: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Notice the theme: 12. 12 circles here. Um, 12 of these that I showed before. Let's count these here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And then we have a 14th here. So that doesn't follow the same 12. But I guarantee you, when you read this, you'll find out um, what these are representing. And these extra ram, these are ram-headed figures, by the way, for that. Let's go further down. Well, this actually cuts off. There's more to this wall, but this is the cutoff of this image. Same here. You see a lot of iconography. Now, someone told me a while back that this looks like, or not look like, they swearing up and down that this is a helicopter. This is a helicopter with the blades missing. And I'm like, man, if you see a helicopter there, I don't see that. It's extended arms in the dua position of praise, same as what this figure is doing right here. You know, so it's things like that where I know that people really don't appreciate
Oh,
these things.
pause right there. Just go back down. Yeah, so that's the mess with the three folded skin and the folded the three skins and the folded cloths. So you have Mesuti. And I was going to the question that Newser was asking about. Yeah, the folded cloth, and that's interesting. We're seeing a lot of that on this one.
Oh yeah, a lot of this has to do with birth, rebirth, regeneration, um, build, destroy, things like that. All right. So anyway, I don't want to be long. I think I covered what I wanted to speak about. So again, let me just go back to what we focused on before, and then anybody that wants to chime in or have questions, I could pay attention to the chat, and I'll definitely post a link if you want to come in here. We could chat for a little bit. All right. So we got like 15 minutes or so. Don't want to make this video too long. All right. So let me unshare this, and we are here. Let me post a link.
When you doing that, Zane says the rematch influenced the Wright brothers like they did Tesla. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully the link is there. Yep. So if you have any questions, I can pay attention to the chat now. So if you have any questions, we can highlight your question and or comment. It don't have to be a question. If you see something that we missed or may have been wrong about, again, just want to remind everybody, you could only do but so much on YouTube channels. And see, this is why what we do is under the umbrella of Sabre University. And Sabre University, we are going to roll out free lessons, quizzes. Some of them you will have to pay for, the more longer ones and more intricate ones. But we try to share information in a more controlled way, and we formulate quizzes about the information so that you can know that you've comprehended what was shared with you and what you read or watched in terms of a video and everything. And so I'm saying that because you can only do but so much on live YouTube streams. I don't fool myself, and don't want to fool anyone to think that okay, we could do a YouTube stream and actually teach you something intricate and complex. That's just not going to happen. Anybody that try to do that, they're just microwaving, and that's not good. Microwave food. Would you have us, rather have slow, well cooked, put love in the food in the dish and steamed, healthy stuff, or some microwave stuff they just threw together and whatnot? Just not gonna work. So come join the panel if you want to join the panel, or if you had a question before or any comments. I'm looking at the chat, so give a shout out again to everybody in the chat. Appreciate anybody taking time to tune in on a Wednesday late. We doing this quick drive by out the blue stuff, but you can expect that from us. All right. Don't forget, if you enjoy our shows or not, thumb up the video. Like the video. See, I don't say like the video because just in case you don't like what we do, I say thumb up. Because you can give a thumb up if you don't like it. But and make sure you subscribe, because we will drive by on you anytime. But I want to hear some feedback though. I'm not seeing anything. I mean, what's going on? Did I rock everybody to sleep? Let's see. Let me scroll back up. Let me see. I can see some of the chat from before I was paying attention. Let's see. Okay, so I see everything is everything. Answer my question. A Nancy the Spider. Okay. Spider-Man, the real Spider-Man, the storyteller and trickster who teaches lessons of life. All right. Cool. Let's see. I am trying to see if there was any questions. Donnie Williams in the house. Donnie is on it, boy. Mess, born, phonetic. He is on it. Let me highlight Donnie up there. Phonetic. Donnie is giving a whole lesson in the chat. That's how you do it. Everything's funny, boy. He said, "With Jaws, violence goes down smoothly." No, I am definitely not violent. I'm as violent as a light bulb clicking in your head. That eureka moment. And if you want to call that violent, then yep, call me Mr. Violent. My aim is to make people think, and think critically, not just to exercise things. Mika made a cameo. She's in and out. Came in, said y'all good night, and she's out. Okay, let's see. Everything is everything says, but Wujao, this is not science though. Science. I have a degree. I know science. Well, let me say something to that though. Never forget this. Science is two things at once. It is the method and tools that allows one to know when something is known. All right. And number two, it is the body of knowledge that is accumulated and acquired by way of using those methods and tools that allow somebody to know when something's known. So in other words, science is the domain of evidence, demonstration, falsifying, testing. That's science. Then you have the other side of how we come to know what we know, which is the side of logic, reasoning, inductive, deductive reasoning, informal, formal logic. That is the domain of mathematics. So we have two distinct domains that work beautifully together: mathematics and science. Okay? So a lot of people are looking for literal, observable, material everything. That's on the side of science. Did you test it? Can you test it? Like, wait, hold up now. What about the other side of logic and deductive reasoning and all of that? What about that? See, people don't like to dwell too much over there in that area because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to do that. And so what I want to say to that is, if you look at the human timeline, in relationship to those two domains, mathematics, which is the domain of logic, and science, which is the domain of evidence. Um, when you walk from today and walk backwards, you reverse the wheel of time. You'll notice that humanity relied more and more on the side of logic, on the side of mathematics, than science. Now, today, we can rely more on science because the reason why is because we have the gadgets, the machinery, the electronics, the equipment to do more and more observations and more testing. So it's like this. Think of it like this. Um, when I was in school, elementary and junior high and whatnot, we weren't allowed to use calculators. And it was said that to use calculators, it would make you lazy. We had to memorize the multiplication table up to, I think, 15. 15 times 15. So we had to go from 0 times 0 all the way to 15 times 15. And we used to have to memorize it. The times table, we used to call it. And I remember my math class, my math teacher, the entire year, every day for the whole school year, the 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 first thing we did when we went to his class was speed. He would test our speed in regurgitating the times table, and he used to give us points and records. And me and this girl in the class, we were the top two straight. Like we left everybody in the dust. Like it was me and her. We were like really just competing with each other. Um, but I say that because nowadays we rely more on a calculator. Like we use the calculator like it's nothing. We don't calculate things in our head as much as we used to because we have our cell phone, we have cash registers that do it real fast, push of a button. Um, you had it before, even when I was growing up. The cashier had to be a mathematician because you had to count. You had to count in your head to give the change back. The cash register didn't tell you. It told you the price of what you got, and then what the person hands you. Like, okay, man, this costs $5.90, and he gave me a 10. So how much I owe him? You got to calculate in your head, especially the mom and pop stores. They had that push button cash register, ching ching, and it had the bell, ching, and the drawer open up. But anyway, um, the point is when you walk backwards throughout the timeline of humanity, we rely more on our mental power to deduce and reason as opposed to instrumentations to lean on by default because we didn't have them. Humanity didn't have them. But yet they did whatever by any means necessary to survive and get the job done. And so that's what's going on. So what people tend to do today, they think only in terms of science and the lazy route. Yeah, okay. We can see it in a telescope, whatever, whatever. But how about you didn't have a telescope and want to see the same thing or observe the same way indirectly through calculations, through logic, through reasoning, through deduction, through the things that you can see. And so that's important to understand. And you can really, really appreciate um, what ancient people did. You want to say something, MK?
Not that, yeah, that was actually interesting that people just assume that actually that's what scientists do, just rely on the tools that they currently have. But that, if that's the case, then they would just have one person or a few people monitor things with the tools. So it requires a lot of thinking and deduction and things like that. That's, there's a whole lot more to that than, just saying that we rely on the tools. We have better tools. I mean, those tools actually are created by people who have to actually figure out, what it is that they're trying to achieve, or what it is that they're trying to get with it, or what they lack, and and how to get that with the tools. So you do need a lot of reasoning in that particular sense. But something was actually iking me a lot. Was some I'm sharing my my slide again just to because there was a few errors. So just actually there was one glyph error that I just wanted to show, and that in particular was this half. It was showing the other sharp Ma'ag glyph, but that's it's supposed to be this sharp glyph when you look at the inscription. So I just wanted to correct that for people who can who come back to it and would like to get the right reading. So that's that. And on the other slide, it will be the same as well with these other ones. And I don't know if it was just that really. So it's just that I just wanted to show that for the just for the archive, so people get the right slide, the right inscriptions or the right glyphs for that. And that's about it. That was iking me a lot.
All right. So let's see. I'm just trying to get some of any questions in here.
Yeah, there was another question. I think I don't know if you answered that. That was from Danny. He was asking that. Oh, okay, you got that on the screen. Go ahead.
All right. So we have a question from Donnie. The Medew Netcher that was covered, is that the biggest takeaway when compared to all the offer registers in the Book of Earth? Let's see. He says the Medew Netcher that was covered, is that the biggest takeaway when compared to all the other registers in the Book of Earth? Um, that's a good question. So the short and skinny answer, let me just share the screen again. The reason why this portion, well, actually in this tomb, and mind you, this is the tomb of Ramses the Sixth. This image, if I draw back out of it, it's not the biggest image. In terms of size relationships, this central image here, hopefully you can see my cursor. The one where I said this is literally someone standing on the shoulders of their ancestor, in terms of priority. This looks bigger than the rest of the images, and this one over here, okay, to the right of it, in terms of the size. So you have 1, 2, 3. These three are the biggest and eye catchers of this scene. But I'm going to tell you, everywhere else this book is written in the tombs that I don't have a picture of, the scene that I focused on is the biggest. Okay, and matter of fact, maybe Emiket can take over the mic for a second. I'm gonna find one from the tomb of Ramses the Ninth, I believe, and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. So what else? Oh, okay. That image was gone. Okay. So while you do that, then let me see if there's any other question, because otherwise I can't see that inscription. Drive by in a chariot. Okay. That's everything is everything. Oh yeah, okay. I think we got caught up with that. That was the Tesla stuff. But yeah, is everybody nobody's actually, trying to get on a panel. We're not going to freestyle or anything like that. So so
Okay.
hopefully
All right. So Donnie, I hope you're still there. Now I'm showing you the same text, but in a different tomb. This is the tomb of Ramses the Ninth. All right, and as you can see, I hope you can see it big enough. This central figure, look how big, and it's damaged. It's a lot of damage in the bottom of this wall, this tomb. But imagine if there was no damage. This figure right here is the biggest thing on the wall. You walk in there, or if you see a picture of the full wall, that is going to catch your eye every time, all the time. That's the biggest part of this scene, and it's the same scene. You see two circles, QWERTY, meaning two circles. You have the stars again. You have the six figures on the right, the six figures holding the sun discs on the left. You have the ichthyphallic deity in the middle. You have the symbol of a child and flame. So instead of semen, this deity is giving off fire, flame. And the soul, if we were to read the text next to it, you're going to find out that the soul of this deity it follows all the things that comes out of it that fire or these dotted lines are attached to, which tells you. And so let me just go back to the other picture. This picture is not very clear, but I just wanted to show you in terms of size why your question was interesting. So the short and skinny answer is yes, this is a major focal point in the text. Okay. So let me come out of there and share the other one again. Let me get back to the other one, because I want to show you something else. All right, so now we're back on the other one. So it's not as big in this one, but it's a major focal point. But so what I wanted to say is, any one of you, I'm sure all of you have heard of the Big Bang, and I don't know to what extent you gave it some thought or you studied it, but a lot of people have a misinterpretation of the Big Bang, and it's mainly due to the name Big Bang. So Big Bang implies that something big was somewhere and that there was an explosion. There was a bang that happened, implying an explosion. And this explosion sent particles out into space. And it spread out wider and wider and wider into space. But that is completely wrong. If you've been thinking that way about the Big Bang, tonight is your night. We're going to correct that. That is not the Big Bang. The Big Bang is a misnomer if we take it literally like that. It's not. It's a metaphor, because nothing big exploded. Nothing exploded and nothing was big. Okay? So here's what actually happened, or here's what the scientists are saying, theorizing, or even giving hypotheses about, because they don't know the actual Big Bang, what we're calling the Big Bang. All that we know about the quote unquote Big Bang is moments after this quote unquote bang. That's not really a bang. Okay. They will not know beyond a certain point, and specifically that point is called the Planck epoch. We cannot know earlier than the Planck epoch. We only know things from the Planck epoch, I should say, forward to the present day. Okay, so that's that. But what they're saying happened is that nothing went bang and exploded into and spread out into space. No, what they're saying is that space itself expanded. And that's a big difference, even though it sounds like I didn't say anything different, but that's a big difference. Something didn't explode into space. Space itself expanded. And it's the expansion of space itself that is inspiring the Big Bang Theory. So, why do I say that? Well, because the ancient Egyptians, among other communities, but the ancient Egyptians is what we deal with, the ancient Egyptians say that every day, all the time. And we say it all the time. Now, mind you, that different cultures personified all these principles as deities. So the ultimate God is completely unlike the Abrahamic God. So we got to get that out of our head. The ultimate God is existence itself. And everything in the universe is God. Why? Because God came into the world as the things of the world and the world itself. That's the same thing that astrophysicists are saying to this very day about the Big Bang. They're saying that this substance that they have no idea what it is or was, itself expanded to become the universe. It didn't explode into the universe or into space. It became space itself and everything in the universe. It's just that modern scientists simply do not personify it or call it a god. That's it. It's a label omission. They omit from referring to it or personifying it or anthropomorphizing it and calling it a name of a deity. That's it. It's the only difference. In Egypt, they refer to that beyond perception, that beyond perceivability as new. And they metaphorize it as chaotic, waters. I won't even say chaotic because people really don't know what chaos means. Chaos, by the way, chaos actually means void. It doesn't mean what we think it is, like random agitation, noisy, like chaotic, like things just bouncing around and bumping into everything. Like we look at that as chaos. No, chaos actually means void. Formless. And that's what new is. New is a undifferentiated, formless substance that we do not know and we will not know. It's the forever imperceivable aspect from which all things come. And they named it. The substance itself is called new, but the aspect of it that we can never perceive is personified as another deity called Amen. Amen means hidden. They translate it as hidden, but it means imperceivable one. And that is simply a description of the state prior to creation, prior to the thingy things in the universe coming into being. And so these books, these under so-called underworld texts, it's a reflection of the Egyptian understanding of the universe and its processes and how it relates to human life and death. So you will see it in a funerary context, in this way because it's in a tomb, because tombs were multi-layered, was multi-purposed, for selected individuals. They preserved the knowledge of today, of that day. Among people who were students of this, because not to romanticize, not all of the Egyptians knew everything that any other Egyptian did. Just like today, everybody's not on equal footing today. There's no society on earth that where you'll find everybody in the society would be on equal footing. Now, in organizations, obviously, every child in the first grade, they're in the first grade. Every child in the second grade, they're on equal footing. They're in the second grade. Now, whether they pass it or not, would be a different story. But yeah, so organization stuff, yes. But community, like populations of people, no. There's always a mixture of where people are and the functions in the society. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling on. I am trying to see if there's any more questions here.
Yeah, I was looking at while you were talking. I just realized I didn't pay attention, but the on the other section below what we were going over, I didn't notice that the heads below that were upside down. That's below what we were, right below what we were going over.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking through the chat, just trying to make sure I'm not missing any questions. So hopefully, Donnie, I answered your question. Donnie, basically, yes, that's a very important piece to stick out in the text. Uh,
Yep, and Zane was saying that, yeah, cosmologies usually personify phenomena. Yeah, yeah. People just have to get away from, taking things literal. At this point, I think that that has definitely, if you're still not understanding that, then it's a little bit too late for you. Like you can't take this kind of stuff literally. Like, for example, what we just saw, like the person is not literally, you know, um, you know, the figure that was standing, um, um, that was in the middle part in that V-shaped. That person is not shooting out stars from his what. So you can't take that kind of stuff literally. But you gotta understand what is happening is like, and that was actually the topic of the video, which was birthing of time.
Okay, I'm just going to address everything's everything. He said a certified scientist said observation is not the first step in science. The event that caused the observation is. What say you? Yeah. So when you put it that way, you first have phenomena, which is some act. Then that draws your attention and curiosity. Then you seek to know about it, and so then you have to observe, and from your observations you start to ask questions and seek the answers to those questions and things. So that's just a default um, process there, you know. But some people may call that observation, even the phenomena. So some people may say people just get caught up into word switching words around. Let me see. How much did time weigh on its birth? Giggles. He said, "How much did time weigh?" Time weighed 12 ounces, 12 pounds, 12 ounces. You see what I did there? 12 pounds, 12 ounces. Haha, there you go. 12 by 12. Let's see. Anybody else? One stone. One stone. Let's see. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? We got Sean in the building. T equals 0. That's the starting point. Sean, that's interesting that you put T equals 0. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but what that brought up in my head though is the physicists, astrophysicists, and astronomers that discuss the Big Bang. When they say the starting of time, they understand that 0 is placed in an arbitrary place. And like Neil deGrasse Tyson says it best, he says, "I don't care where you put 0." He said that's the exciting part of all of this stuff is that we can move 0 around. He said right now 0 is in a certain position, but if we're able to learn more, whatever, they may have to move it, or if not move it, they'll go into negative integers, negative time. He said, "I don't mind." There's a video of him saying, I don't mind. Hey, that'll be exciting. Go into negative time, negative time, whatever, you know. So, but it's also interesting because they all say that they will never be able to observe in a scientific sense that people think of science as, to observe the beginning of everything. And guess what? Guess who said that? Take a wild guess who else said the same thing. The same thing that modern scientists are saying to this very day. Just take a guess.
The rematch.
Exactly. The Egyptians personified that fact as a god. What's the god's name? Not you. Emmy can't be cheating. Emmy can't want to answer everything. I'm trying to get some people in the chat. What god represents the same thing that modern physicists are saying about the inability to perceive the very beginning, the birth? This is going to be a forever unwitnessed birth.
Let's see who gets it first.
All right. Zane says Nun. Oh no, Tahuti says Nun.
Yes, the answer is no. Let's see who, let's get all the answers and then see what.
Zane says Nun. SK says Set. Oh, Niswa Sarah says Nun. SK says Set. And Tahuti's like, I don't know. He's like, question mark. All right. Niswa Sarah. Oh, he said Ptah. Oh, now people just throwing deities' names out there. It's just like, okay, I'm just gonna wing it. We have a correct answer. See, Chavis, I'm telling y'all, don't sleep on Chavis. Chavis be sitting in the cut. He be paying attention. Chavis sitting in the cut like he gonna snipe everybody.
Uh
That
huh.
is that is correct, Chavis. I'm in. But listen, how did everybody didn't get it? I gave the answer away in the way I asked. I said what other people talked about an event that you're incapable of perceiving it, witnessing it. Imperceptibility. That's what the word amen means. The imperceivable one. And that is an aspect of new. New is the substance itself that no one has ever witnessed and no one ever will witness it. And the fact that you will not witness or perceive it means that it is the aspect of it is imperceivable and it's deified as Amen. And the female counterpart is Amenet. Amen and Amenet. That is talking about the imperceivable aspect of existence itself, from which all things come out of. Now check this out. Um, all of the different aspects of the creative process are personified as gods and goddesses in Egyptian culture. So when it comes to Amen, the Egyptians are noted for saying not even the other gods know the identity of Amen. And what that is saying is that this aspect of existence is imperceivable even onto the other forces and elements and processes of nature. It's imperceivable. And that's the exact same thing scientists are saying to this very day still. They're saying that the leptons or the neutrinos that condense or dense itself to form the protons and neutrons of nuclei, then later on as time and things cool down a little bit more, then electrons get attached to them and the atom is first born. The first formation of the atom. Then later on, you have the first molecule, and so on and so forth. But these particles are not able to perceive the actual what we're calling the bang or the birth, and it's just right there. What else? Let's see. Keep going. I didn't want to say I'm in. Amen means hidden one. Exactly.
Uh,
Okay.
Somebody asked, what was it again? Does the text speak on cycles?
I don't see that, but okay. Does the text speak on cycle? The text that we read.
Correct. And that was from SK.
The answer is yes. The underworld texts in general, they're very cyclic. They speak about cycles because cycles in and of itself is an aspect of existence. No different than duality. Um, This ultimate singularity that is inspiring and motivating modern physicists to do science and do the investigations that they're doing is going to be imperceivable. The observable universe is at its bare core a duality. And so that is a what do you call it? A an essential part of, an inherited part of the universe itself, just like the cycles. It's cyclic. Okay, and the Egyptians speak of these different cycles. And how do we know that? The blatant and outward, overt discussion that the Egyptians do about cycles is all the stories with Ra, where Ra gets swallowed up in the west in the mouth of Nut. He travels within her body, and then he's born out of her womb in the east. So her womb is on the left hand side. Her head and mouth are on the right hand side. The right is the west. The left is the east. And so he travels that way, only to be born again. By coming into being again and taking form again, which is signified by the deity Keper. And so you'll see these stories repetitive, and that's the same cycle that human life has. You're born, you mature, you get old, and you set and you die. And so this cycle is repetitive. It's repeating all the time. As a matter of fact, the duat, what people call a duat, I don't know if a lot of people know it. If you didn't know, now you're gonna know. If you do know, then hey, we could talk about it more another time. But the duat itself is personified as a deity. Everybody but Emiket, what deity is personified as the duat itself? That's my question. That's my question. So I know there's a delay in the chat. While I put that question out there, let me see if I see anybody else. I'm trying to see. Omar Reed said, Ra, nope. Who is the deity? Ask it again. Okay. The question is the duat. Everybody heard the word duat before. Who is the personification of the duat as a god? All right, Brother Hassan has the correct answer. The Brother Hassan says it. Usir or Asar. Asar is the personification of the duat. And when you see him represented as a duat, he is in the shape of a circle. His body is bent into the shape of a circle. All right. And I mentioned that, and I'm just throwing I'm throwing these things out there because I want you all to look more into them, and we can have whole conversations on each piece of these things that we're bringing up. But Usir is the duat itself, personification of duat itself. And notice that when Ra travels in his day boat, and he goes into the west, eventually he meets up with Usir and they become one. Only for him to be reborn. Usir stays back, and Ra keeps going, and he's reborn in the east. And he's brought into being by the front of the scarab beetle, not the hind legs being pushed. He's not being pushed. That's another misconception that people have. He's not being pushed through the sky. He's being brought into being by the scarab beetle. He's being shaped and formed. Because remember, scarab beetles do not push the dung with their front legs. The scarab beetle pushes the dung with their back legs. So when you see the sun disk in front of the beetle uses the front legs and its mouth or head to shape the circle, to bring the circle into being from a clump and lump of dung. They shape this nice round ball. That's what beetles do. Scarab beetles do. And so Ra is being reshaped or reformed or reborn every morning. All right. Um. So yeah, keep that in mind. Let's see. Anything else? Any other questions? Now, mind you, I thought I put the link in there. I hope nobody's scared to come in here. We have 5 minutes.
After you, I started asking those questions. I don't think anybody's gonna come to the panel. But check it. If you're on a panel, you don't get to answer like me.
We got 5 minutes, y'all. 5 minutes. I'm just looking at the chat. Yes, no, maybe so. All right, so let me just do a quick review. So what I shared, let me share it again. What I shared was this image here. This is from the tomb of Ramses the Sixth. This text itself is called by scholars the Book of the Earth or the Book of Aker. And you see it right here in the center. You see this Sphinx in the center. At the top, let me blow it up a bit. Right here at the top, right here, you see this Sphinx. It has the word Aker on it. So people look at this book as the Book of Aker. It is one of the many underworld texts that I always tell everybody to study. But in order to really study and appreciate and actually comprehend what's going on, you have to go through a learning process. So this is really a goal. I don't suggest people start off with this, because if you start off with this, you'll end up being like other pseudos that will start talking about, flat Earth and the sun is really not in the sun. It's really a projection from the center of the Earth, and the moon is not really there, and all kinds of crazy stuff that I see on YouTube. Um, I've seen people that talk about, there's an opening in the Earth, and these extraterrestrials live there and stuff. See, that's the kind of stuff that people get out of this when they don't do the necessary work to really understand. They'll say something like this the center of the Earth, this the North Pole. Hitler and his folks. Hitler's still alive. He's right here. He's over here. The Egyptians predicted about Hitler. Hitler's down in Shambhala and Argata in the center of the Earth where the central sun is. See, that's why it's so many circles over here, because it's the central sun. And all these people are living there. They sailed there. They're going through ice, and they're in Antarctica. Antarctica wasn't always ice; it was tropical. Antarctica and what's the other one? Antarctica. What's the north? One of them is Antarctica, and the other one is Arctica. Am I right? Man, I done forgot. Um, but anyway, so you hear stuff like that. It's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Shambhala.
What is that? Is that real? Shambhala?
I'm gonna pretend you didn't even ask me that. You talk. I'm gonna give you some links. Go look at Gaia show and stuff.
Yeah, but no, see, that's the thing. Like, you see, even when you have the pictures, you can't like the pictures, even when people try to describe these pictures, they just do it wrong. And people forget that, with the pictures is the, they do they do accompany the text. So most of the, you can't just translate them or describe them outside of outside of the context of the, what you have in a text. So they do act um like big determinatives, and like modern day where it's like when you read the news or any newspaper really, where they would have a story, but then you have like the cover picture. So then when you look at the cover picture, you kind of get an idea of what the story is about. But sometimes, that could be incorrect, especially how people use like clickbait pictures nowadays and whatnot. So, but then you still have to read, the text, or what is, the story, or the article itself, to kind of know what is being talked about. That's what we do, or we should do, like, in modern times. So that actually applies to this kind of text as well. So you can't just look at the picture and then you just start, wandering off and doing all kind of describing this and that. The text actually do tell you more, and then the pictures act like more like a summary, or like determinatives, whatever.
All right. I'm looking in the chat and I don't see anything. We got 1 minute left. 1 minute left. So it's really can't get anything in 1 minute. So we might as well just go ahead and wrap it up. So again, you know, just to kind of reiterate. So the point of going live tonight was really just to share a tidbit of information about this particular text, and I'm bouncing off of the fact that Asarmotep brought it up, in terms of showing this image. And let me zoom back in on the portion I'm talking about. So if you all didn't catch the beginning of the video, you're gonna see, watch it. We can try and limit this to 2 hours. This portion right here. And so you had to watch the video to see what we said about it. We didn't go into it too far or anything. It takes a lot of time, and like I said, this is something that I don't start people off with, but because of the latest conversations about what the Egyptians knew and did not know, or Africans, really it wasn't even about the Egyptians, just to be fair. In the conversation, it's about the Congo people, the Kikongo, the Bantu speakers in the Congo. What did they know, what did they not know, and stuff like that. And it's a bit unfair when that turns into an argument, because there's not a lot of literature when it comes to the Kikongo or the Bantu speakers of the Congo. So I always come over to where we do have literature and we can demonstrate. Remember, demonstration beats conversation each and every time. They could talk all the trash about the Congo because it's like, man, because you got to go through oral traditions, and then people, whether you believe it or not or whatever, or initiated people, this, that, and the third. But over here in Egypt, you got a whole lot more to bite on. You can't deny these texts. And two, they can't read it anyway. So they people don't like to mess with this. They can't read it. They don't know what it says. They have no clue. Which, for the life of me, I don't understand why people can run their mouth on stuff that they don't know about and don't intend on studying. Because at one point I knew nothing about this stuff, but I took time to learn. I'm still learning, and so that's cool. Like, I see people who don't know. I don't expect everybody to know because we're not all there.
Yeah, I saw a question from the 11th Akashic Soldier. He or she, please let us know, how we can refer to you, if it's he or she. Asked about where should I start, and I'm not sure if you're asking about where to start with learning how to read this stuff, or just if you can clarify what is it you're talking about, or what you want to ask about, what you want to start. But so, because there might be a delay, if you're asking about, starting to learn how to read, we do have classes, and I will, let me see. While I'm talking, I will just put the link for the website. So we do have classes. They That is the link for the, where you can find out that's, about the Sesh Netcher, and our classes. Actually, we do have them at Sabre University. If somebody can put that link as well. And yeah, so and our classes are like the 12 weeks. You have 12 weeks where you learn. Within that 12 weeks you will learn from the beginning how to, and when you're finished you'll be able to learn how to translate inscriptions, or the procedure and the correct method. So and all of us really, like, most of us that you see here actually went through the class. And if you watch our archives, you will see, like, in the beginning stages, right after we finish classes, we would go over the different inscriptions, and just learning our way through to a point where you're able to just be on your own and take a text like what we have here, and take your time and come up with what is being the message that is being put forward by, on the hieroglyphs. So you're able to transliterate and then translate and come up with, like, some a sensible and workable meaning of what is being portrayed. And it's really 12 weeks, and yeah, it shouldn't take you that long. But yeah, and that's for the beginners level. Then we do have other levels, but we probably need to go over that one more time. But those are the links where you can learn, if that's what you were talking about.
All right, all right. So, while I have this on the screen, though, it's the last thing 'cause I don't see anymore, and we want to close out. Um, what we didn't go over. Let me see if I get my cursor over there, blow it up some more. What we didn't go over was this section to the left of what we did focus on. So we were focusing on this section here, and so just a quick review. Remember this glyph, this space here is not just aesthetic space. This is the glyph wasek, which means to widen, to broaden, and it's a way of saying space, to carve out space. And so this wasek is embedded within the overall pattern of the aket, the horizon. You have two hills, and the hills is formed by the body of Mehen, the protective serpent. And so within the middle of these hills is space. And out of space, because the body of Mehen dips down below the perceivable line, so the middle of the body is imperceivable. So from this imperceivable place, you have this ithyphallic deity giving birth to time. The 6 hours on the left and the 6 hours on the right, double with the two sun discs and the stars, um, so on and so forth. So that's just a quick review. So we went over that, but we didn't go over the text here on the left. And it's a continuation. Just to kind of summarize that text, it is saying that this occurrence here is saying that they are not seeing. You have the word ma'ah here for see, and I don't have my trusty arrow to show you all where I'm pointing to, but I don't know if y'all can see my cursor or not. Let me blow this up some more. Okay. So it's saying they're not seeing, and then we have the word hedget, which is the radiance or the brightness. The word hedge is the same word for the white crown, the whiteness, that brightness, the bright crown or the white crown of Upper Kemet, the brightness of Ra. All right, so, but I'm just gonna point out some key words here. So you see the brightness of Ra. So they cannot see the brightness of Ra, and the reason why is because they're in this state here, keket, and everyone knows what kek and keket is. What is it? Go ahead, Emika. I know you want to tell everybody.
Okay, that's one of the four aspects of Noon that is personified as the deities Kek and Keket.
Okay, and so in their darkness, and then it goes on to say that let me point out another glyph here. You see the word ba. It's saying that they hear the words, and the soul, or the ba of this deity is with them and travels. You see this word here for travel, shim, to go or follow. When we say shim su heru, you see Shem, follow him. So what this is all saying, without going too far, because I'm trying to close out, is that what's taking place is not being witnessed because of the other ones within the place because of the darkness, but the soul or the essence of this deity travels or is in them and is traveling with him as one. So we have YF as one. All right. Um, and I'll just kind of stop there and leave y'all hanging a bit. But
That's
that's
Yeah, I would like to quickly, before we forget, say duau to Sendani, because he, supplied $25 through the super chat. So duau, that's really appreciated. We might actually, start getting some of the books that we wanted to have in our archive. So dua, that's much appreciated.
yes, it is. So close us out, Mikael. What you got to say? Because I'm not gonna close out this time because my closing statements they'll take an hour.
Okay, so let me do the 2 hour close up then, because I keep African time. No, but so yeah, thank you and dua. That means I mean it's dua in Sesh, dua duau. A lot of thank you, many thank you for tuning in, and we really appreciate the interaction. And yeah, and this because we definitely are going to have a lot of impromptu sessions when things come up. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our channel and thumb it up and share it. So click that like button and a big bang that like that like button, and then yeah, and then also the bell notification that will let you know whenever we go live, so you don't have to miss or come late to it. And also we have our Facebook group where we definitely will be having some more interactions and discussions in there, and the link to that is actually below this particular video, and other links as well are there. So, join our Facebook group, and there you can have more questions and more discussions. And with that said, I would say get an affair, which is good night for those on a night zone, and is it back on the fair or those in the morning time zone, and Shema Hotep.